What if the moment you feel like giving up is the exact moment you're closest to your breakthrough? Imagine standing at the edge of a storm, the wind howling, the sky dark, and yet deep inside, a spark refuses to die. This is the story of Mia Carter, a woman who turned her struggles into stepping stones and proved that pushing forward, even when the odds are stacked against you, can lead to unimaginable triumphs. Mia Carter stood at the edge of her small apartment balcony in Chicago, staring at the city skyline as rain pelted the streets below. It was 2023, and at 29 years old, Mia felt like life was slipping through her fingers. The world seemed to move at lightning speed, while she was stuck in slow motion, weighed down by rejection letters, unpaid bills, and a dream that felt more like a fading mirage. "You're pushing forward every day," her mother's voice echoed in her mind from a phone call earlier that week. "I'm so proud of you." But Mia didn't feel proud. She felt like a failure. Her dream of becoming a published author seemed laughably out of reach. Every manuscript she sent to publishers came back with polite rejections, or worse, no response at all. Her day job as a barista barely covered rent, and the constant grind was wearing her down. But something inside Mia refused to quit. Maybe it was stubbornness, maybe it was hope, or maybe it was the faint memory of her childhood self, scribbling stories in a notebook, believing she could change the world with her words. Whatever it was, it kept her going, even when the storm of doubt threatened to drown her. One rainy evening, Mia sat at her cluttered desk, staring at her latest manuscript. It was a novel she'd poured her heart into, a story about a young woman overcoming loss to find her purpose. The irony wasn't lost on her. She felt like the character in her story, except she hadn't found her purpose yet. Her laptop pinged with an email, another rejection. This one stung more than the others. "Your writing shows promise, but it lacks the spark we're looking for." Mia slammed her laptop shut, tears welling up. "Spark?" she muttered. "What does that even mean?" She was ready to give up, but then her eyes fell on a crumpled sticky note taped to her desk. "Keep going. You're closer than you think." Her best friend Jamal had written it months ago during one of their late-night coffee talks. Jamal was a struggling musician, no stranger to rejection himself, and his words had become Mia's lifeline. That night, instead of wallowing, Mia made a decision. She would rewrite her manuscript one more time. But this time, she wouldn't write for the publishers. She'd write for herself, for the girl who used to dream without limits. She'd find that spark they claimed she was missing, even if it meant tearing her story apart and rebuilding it from scratch. The next few months were a blur of early mornings and late nights. Mia woke up at 5 a.m. every day, scribbling ideas before her barista shift started. She carried a notebook everywhere, jotting down snippets of dialogue during her lunch breaks and sketching scenes on napkins when inspiration struck. She read books on writing craft, listened to podcasts by successful authors, and joined an online writers group where she found a community of dreamers like herself. It wasn't easy. There were days when the words wouldn't come, when her inner critic screamed that she was wasting her time. There were moments when she wanted to delete her manuscript and walk away forever. But every time she felt like quitting, she remembered her mother's words. "You're pushing forward every day." And she kept going. One small win came when a member of her writers group, a retired editor named Susan, offered to read her revised manuscript. Susan's feedback was tough but fair. "Your story has heart, Mia, but it needs more depth. Dig into your character's pain. Make us feel it." Mia took the advice to heart, rewriting entire chapters to capture the raw emotion she'd been afraid to confront. Another win came when Mia submitted a short story to a local literary contest on a whim. She didn't win, but her story made it to the top 10, and the judges' feedback praised her unique voice. For the first time, Mia felt a flicker of validation. Maybe, just maybe, she wasn't chasing a pipe dream. By mid-2024, Mia's manuscript was unrecognizable from its original draft. It was bolder, rawer, and brimming with the spark she'd been searching for. But the fear of rejection still lingered. Sending her work to publishers felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting to fall. One evening, Jamal invited her to an open mic night at a local cafe. "You need to share your work, Mia," he said. "Not just with publishers, but with real people. Let them hear your voice." Mia hesitated. Reading her work aloud felt like baring her soul to strangers. But Jamal's encouragement and a glass of courage in the form of chamomile tea pushed her to sign up. When her name was called, Mia's heart pounded as she stepped onto the small stage, clutching her manuscript. The cafe was packed, the air thick with the scent of coffee and anticipation. She cleared her throat and began reading the opening chapter of her novel. Her voice trembled at first, but as she spoke, something shifted. The words flowed and the room fell silent. She could feel the audience leaning in, hanging on to every sentence. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. Strangers approached her afterward, telling her how her story moved them. One woman, tears in her eyes, said, "That story, it's like you wrote my life." Mia went home that night feeling something she hadn't felt in years: pride. The open mic night was a turning point. Mia realized her words had power, not just on paper, but in the hearts of others. She decided to take a leap of faith and self-publish her novel. She spent months learning about formatting, cover design, and marketing, all while juggling her barista job. It was exhausting, but every step felt like a victory. She was no longer waiting for permission to share her story with the world. In early 2025, Mia's novel, The Weight of Wings, hit online bookstores. She didn't expect much, just hoped a few people might read it. But something incredible happened. Readers found her book. They left glowing reviews, shared it on social media, and recommended it to friends. A book blogger with a large following called it a heart-wrenching, hopeful masterpiece, and soon Mia's sales began to climb. By spring, The Weight of Wings had sold over 5,000 copies, a modest but meaningful milestone for a self-published debut. Local bookstores invited Mia to do readings, and a small press reached out, offering to publish her next book. Mia was stunned. The dream she'd carried since childhood was no longer a distant star. It was real, tangible, and growing brighter every day. But the true victory wasn't the sales or the recognition. It was the emails Mia received from readers. One wrote, "Your book gave me the courage to keep going after losing my job." Another said, "I felt seen in a way I never have before." Mia realized her story wasn't just hers anymore. It belonged to everyone who found hope in its pages. Mia's journey wasn't without setbacks. Even after her success, there were moments of doubt, new challenges, and days when the weight of her ambitions felt heavy. But she'd learned something vital. Progress isn't a straight line. It's a series of small, deliberate steps, each one fueled by courage and resilience. Every time Mia felt like giving up, she remembered the sticky note on her desk, her mother's words, and the faces of the people who connected with her story. She remembered that pushing forward, even when the storm raged, was worth it. Today, Mia is working on her second novel, mentoring young writers in her community and speaking at local events about the power of perseverance. She's not a household name, and she doesn't need to be. She's living proof that dreams don't have to stay dreams, that with grit, heart, and a refusal to quit, anyone can rise above the storm. Mia's story isn't just hers, it's yours too. Maybe you're standing at the edge of your own storm, wondering if your efforts will ever pay off. Maybe you're facing rejection, doubt, or a dream that feels too big to hold. But here's the truth. Every step you take, no matter how small, is moving you closer to your breakthrough. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. Write that story. Start that business. Take that class. Chase that dream. The world is waiting for your spark, and it's brighter than you know. So take a deep breath, square your shoulders, and push forward. Because every day you show up, you're proving something powerful. You're stronger than the storm. And someone somewhere is proud of you, especially you.